this here in the States. It's multiple publications that's reporting it.
Worlds with the monarchy.
He was born at home at Frogmore Cottage in Windsor, or whether he was...
The night felt oppressive, the kind of silence that presses against your chest and refuses to ease. Prince Harry paced the length of his California mansion again and again, trapped in a restless loop like a man sealed inside a room with no doors and no windows. There was no escape, only the slow closing in of quiet. This wasn't about paparazzi. It wasn't tabloids or social media noise dissecting his every move. This was something far more personal, more intimate, more frightening than any headline could ever capture. People close to Harry say he hadn't slept in days. His nerves were stretched thin, his body rigid with tension. He muttered broken sentences under his breath, then froze mid-step, staring at glowing screens, as if they might deliver either salvation or detonation.
Breaking it way too long. I tell the DJ, turn it off.
If she a baby mama,
Go
she gon' do that baby mama.
Work.
She gon' put
Deep down, he already knew what was coming. And then there was DL, a woman whose name had been erased, buried beneath NDAs, legal language, and years of enforced silence. She wasn't a rumor or an internet theory. She was real, and she was preparing to challenge a version of events the world had accepted without question.
Today's video. So at the time, Archie Mountbatten Windsor was born May 6, 2019. And this was surrounded by controversy, largely to the unconventional.
For years, the public believed they knew the story. Meghan's radiant announcements, carefully staged photographs, glowing maternity appearances, perfectly timed moments presented as effortless joy. It looked like a fairy tale. DL's account cut straight through that image with precision. Calm, controlled, methodical. She claimed she was the biological mother of Archie and Lilibet, not Meghan, not an anonymous surrogate hidden behind paperwork. DL said she had preserved documentation step by step, clinic records, DNA-related files, transport logs, appointment confirmations, every timestamp saved, every signature tracked, every detail archived. This wasn't emotional testimony. It was the kind of claim that makes lawyers uneasy and institutions stiffen. Because if even part of it proved accurate, the Sussex narrative wouldn't just wobble, it would face direct scrutiny, and Harry would be pulled straight into it. Suddenly, his recent interviews hit differently. Fans replayed his words, searching for cracks. According to insiders, the moment DL calmly laid out her account, Harry's world fractured. The choreography, the polish, the carefully managed image collapsed instantly. DL wasn't angry. She wasn't screaming. She didn't perform outrage for the cameras. Her approach was quiet and deliberate. She wanted recognition, acknowledgement, the truth made visible and undeniable. She said she had been erased entirely. No public credit, no follow-up care, no place in the official story. According to her, the children were removed from her life and the narrative rewritten to ensure she vanished completely. When the weight of those claims finally landed, Harry reportedly broke down. The truth he thought had been buried stared back at him. Every magazine spread, every smiling interview suddenly felt like theater, carefully staged to hide something far more complicated. Friends say Harry cried openly, violently, the kind of grief that shakes a person to their core. He believed silence was protection. He believed he was shielding his family. Only now did he understand the cost. DL also alleged institutional involvement. She claimed powerful systems helped sanitize the story, constructing an untouchable image of Meghan as the flawless Duchess. According to DL, nothing about the process was natural or effortless. Then came the paperwork. Birth records that should have been simple but weren't. DL said her name had been removed from Archie's documentation and replaced with a cleaner version designed to block legal challenges and public questions. She rejected the idea of clerical error. She insisted it was deliberate. Even the timing of public announcements came under scrutiny. DL claimed Archie was born weeks before he was introduced to the world. Lilibet, she said, followed a similar pattern. Not coincidence. Control.legal sources say preparations are already underway. If DL releases what she claims to possess, it won't just be scandal. It could trigger legal battles across the US and the UK, raising questions about lineage, protocol, and institutional accountability. The monarchy has weathered centuries of controversy, but rarely has its narrative been challenged so directly at the foundation. Harry's friends describe him as haunted, pacing endlessly, whispering apologies into empty rooms, rereading old messages, timelines, emails, trying to understand how protection turned into exposure. And the cruel irony was impossible to ignore. Harry left royal life to escape secrecy and control. Now he was suffocating under a secret of his own. Silence, once a shield, had become a trap. By sunrise in Montecito, he was already awake, bloodshot eyes, shaking hands. Every phone notification sounded like a countdown, the moment DL would release everything. Documents surrounded him, emails, receipts, screenshots, travel logs. He studied them obsessively, hoping to find a flaw, but each timestamp only reinforced the same fear. This wasn't just plausible, it was verifiable. The call was short, tense, and charged. Her voice, once controlled and authoritative, cracked under the strain. "You can't do this, not yet. We're not ready," she said. "The public isn't ready." "I don't care about ready," Harry replied quietly. "I care about the truth. For the children, for everyone involved, this ends now." The silence that followed was crushing. By late afternoon, the plan was sealed. Harry would speak first. He would acknowledge DL's existence and role without attacking her, without theatrics, and without dragging the children into spectacle. Protection of the children would remain absolute. Sources close to DL say she watched from a distance. She wasn't hiding. She wasn't plotting. She was prepared, organized, meticulous, and ready to corroborate every claim if called upon. For her, this moment wasn't revenge. It was reclamation. Then the first ripple hit the media. An unconfirmed leak mentioned a woman identified only as DL connected to the births of Archie and Lilibet, preparing to speak publicly. Analysts immediately grasped the implications. Legal, emotional, institutional. Speculation detonated across platforms. Public attention shifted instantly. Social media surged. Harry paced with his phone in hand, watching reactions scroll past, described by friends as a man holding his breath, bracing himself, but resolved to face what came next. Inside Meghan's circle, pressure mounted rapidly. Lawyers began calling. Damage control conversations intensified. Legal exposure, media strategy, crisis containment. But once truth starts moving, it doesn't stop easily. That night, Harry sat alone in the living room, documents spread across the floor and table. Clinic records, emails, travel logs, NDAs, timestamps. Every page was a reminder of complexity, secrecy, and decisions made under pressure. Friends say he repeated one sentence over and over, barely above a whisper. "I can't hide this anymore." Then, according to multiple sources, he drafted a statement. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't emotional. It was precise. He acknowledged DL's existence and role. He confirmed discrepancies in timelines. He emphasized that every decision had been framed, rightly or wrongly, around protecting the children. No blame, no spectacle, just truth. By morning, it was ready. Harry scheduled a virtual interview with a journalist known for restraint and fairness. The timing was deliberate. The wording was reviewed line by line with legal counsel. Insiders say the world was about to hear Harry in a way it never had before. As the interview began, he appeared tense, but resolved. His hands trembled slightly, but his voice carried the weight of someone who had held too many secrets for too long. He spoke slowly, deliberately. He confirmed that DL had played a critical role in the children's births. He explained why secrecy had been maintained. He admitted mistakes. He expressed regret for harm caused. When he addressed Meghan, the tone shifted. Not accusatory, but unflinching. "I did what I thought was best," he said, his voice breaking. "But I can't manage reality through silence anymore. The truth deserves to be heard." The reaction was immediate. Media outlets erupted. Analysts dissected every word. Social platforms ignited with debate, support, anger, disbelief. Some praised his transparency. Others accused him of betrayal. DL remained quiet, watching the storm, prepared to step forward with documentation if necessary. Her truth, carefully preserved, waited for scrutiny. By afternoon, Harry's acknowledgment had shattered the carefully maintained narrative. The story was no longer only about Meghan or Harry. It was about secrecy, about lineage, about consequence. Legal experts weighed in. Historians discussed protocol implications. Psychologists analyzed public perception. Inside Montecito, Harry sat exhausted, but relieved. The disclosure had been painful, but it was done on his terms. Meghan remained silent. For the first time in years, her carefully curated image had been disrupted by a narrative she did not control and could not edit. DL, meanwhile, remained prepared. Documents ready. Records verified. The story was no longer private. It now belonged to history, to law, and to public record. The first tremors of a royal earthquake had arrived. The following morning, the world woke differently. News outlets led with the story. Harry had spoken. DL existed. The narrative surrounding Archie and Lilibet's births was no longer shaped by polished images or controlled messaging. Headlines varied, some sympathetic, some brutal, but all unavoidable. In Montecito, the fairy tale had fractured. Harry spent hours reviewing coverage, reading every headline, every analysis, every reaction. His jaw was set, his hands clenched. He knew this was only the beginning. DL's moment was next. Overnight, she assembled her team, not to manufacture chaos, but to prepare for controlled disclosure. Years of documentation were organized with precision. Emails, clinic invoices, NDAs, travel records, witness accounts, each cross-referenced, time-stamped, and verified. By midday, a press briefing was scheduled. But DL's approach was starkly different from what the public was used to. No staged photographs, no soft lighting, no narrative theatrics. She appeared as herself, composed, firm, unapologetic. Her goal was not to attack Meghan, Harry, or the monarchy. It was to reclaim her story. When she spoke, the response was instant. "I am the biological mother of Archie and Lilibet," she said calmly. "I have the records to prove it. I am not seeking revenge. I am seeking recognition." Media coverage exploded. Analysts parsed every sentence. Commentators debated legal and constitutional ramifications. Social media fractured into camps of support, outrage, and disbelief. Harry watched the live feed, torn between relief and dread. Relief that DL spoke with clarity and restraint, dread for what would inevitably follow. "This is bigger than all of us," he reportedly muttered. Inside Meghan's world, the pressure intensified. Legal teams reviewed past statements. PR strategists scrambled. The facts presented left little room for spin. At the palace, crisis protocols activated. Emergency consultations began. Documentation was reviewed. Questions of succession and protocol surfaced at the highest levels. Harry began to grasp the scale of what was unfolding. Friends describe him walking the estate grounds, staring out at the Pacific, replaying every decision that led here. "I thought I was protecting them," he told a confidant. "I didn't realize protection could look like erasure." DL's documentation, emails, clinic communications, NDAs, verified timestamps entered public consciousness with precision. Her legal team emphasized this was not about scandal, but correction. By evening, formal legal reviews were underway. Harry released a follow-up statement, personal, restrained, accountable. He acknowledged his role. He emphasized the children's safety. He did not defend secrecy. He did not attack Meghan. He owned the truth. The reaction intensified. Supporters praised transparency. Critics demanded accountability. Historians contextualized the moment. Legal experts analyzed consequences. For Harry, the relief of disclosure was real, but incomplete. Scrutiny, legal review, and public reckoning loomed. He personally reached out to DL to ensure her protection and credibility. Sources say the gesture wasn't strategic, it was responsibility. By nightfall, lawyers on both sides of the Atlantic worked through the documentation. Preliminary conclusions hinted at consequences as personal as they were institutional. Questions of legitimacy, protocol, and accountability now hovered openly. Harry spent the night drafting notes, reviewing statements, weighing every word. The weight of years of silence pressed heavily, but the path forward was clear. The truth was out. Calm, unwavering. She had stepped out of the shadows, claimed her identity, and placed her truth on the record. With documentation prepared for verification, the stage was set for the next act, one where law, legacy, and personal accountability would collide in ways insiders insist would leave no one untouched. The first tremors had passed. The earthquake, they warned, was still building. By the following morning, the storm was fully unleashed. Media outlets across the world dissected DL's revelations in real time. Headlines swung between shock, outrage, and reluctant sympathy as the truth surrounding Archie and Lilibet's births, once wrapped in secrecy, was exposed. Harry had spoken. Meghan remained silent. Social media fractured instantly. Some defended Meghan fiercely. Others amplified DL's claims with relentless focus. Legal analysts debated constitutional implications. Royal historians questioned protocol. Commentators speculated whether Buckingham Palace would be forced to respond. Inside Montecito, Harry reportedly felt a brief lifting of weight, even as new pressure settled in. For years, he had carried these secrets, believing silence was protection. Speaking the truth brought relief, but also guilt, fear, and the heavy realization of what that silence had cost. Friends say he spent hours reviewing the documentation again and again, emails, clinic records, timelines, ensuring nothing had been misrepresented. Reconciling what he had known with what DL had revealed forced him to confront the full consequence of secrecy. The ripple effects were impossible to ignore. Meghan, according to insiders, withdrew further from view. The carefully curated image of control, confidence, and glamour faltered. No public appearances, no glossy photo shoots, no carefully staged charity moments. Only silence, broken by private legal consultations and frantic efforts to contain a narrative that had already escaped her control. Advisors reportedly warned that any public statement could either escalate the crisis or serve as an implicit acknowledgement. She chose silence. The world filled in the gaps on its own. DL, by contrast, moved steadily forward. Her documentation, verified emails, medical records, travel logs, signed NDAs, was confirmed authentic by multiple independent sources. The precision left little room for doubt. She repeated consistently that her goal was not destruction, but recognition. Not vengeance, but truth. Her calm, factual approach forced even skeptical observers to pause. For the first time, the public was hearing the story directly from the woman who claimed she had been erased. Across the Atlantic, Buckingham Palace reportedly convened emergency briefings. Advisors debated strategy, legal exposure, and constitutional ramifications. Experts noted the monarchy was facing a rare and dangerous intersection, private secrecy colliding with centuries-old public protocol. Questions of legitimacy, oversight, and accountability could no longer be avoided. Harry, according to sources, requested a private family meeting. Unrecorded, closed door, final. In that room, he told Meghan everything. He confirmed the documents. He acknowledged the truth. He spoke not for headlines, but for their children, their legacy, and his own conscience. Witnesses say Meghan listened with minimal response, her expression unreadable, the facade of control fractured, even if only briefly. Meanwhile, the world watched. Archie and Lilibet remained innocent at the center of a story they never chose, now bound to documents, revelations, and public debate far beyond their understanding. Harry's acknowledgement, DL's evidence, and Meghan's silence combined into a narrative of accountability, consequence, and the cost of managing truth through illusion. As night fell, insiders say Harry allowed himself the first genuine rest in weeks. The truth had been spoken. DL had been acknowledged. Meghan faced the consequences of secrecy. And somewhere in the quiet of Montecito, Harry reportedly whispered words that carried the weight of everything he had avoided for years. The truth hurts, but it's the only way forward. The world reacted, debated, judged, argued. But one thing was clear. This chapter was no longer being told through polished images or controlled narratives. For the first time, it was unfolding openly. History, insiders insist, will not forget this reckoning. The curtain had fallen, but the echoes of truth, silence, and consequence will linger far beyond it. If you found this story eye-opening, make sure to like, subscribe, share, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. The conversation isn't over, and neither is the truth.